What's up, anime lovers? Simon here. Welcome to HannaTalk. Today I'm chatting with a really special guest who's voiced across from anime to video games, but is best known in the Pokemon universe voicing humans and creatures galore, including Vampy, Bulbasaur, Larvitar, and Ash's human counterpart, Richie, and has also played in the Yu-Gi-Oh series as Mokuba, and is voiced as best known in the live-action world as the co-host for Cartoon Network Fridays. Please welcome Tara Sands. Tara, how are you?
Hello, that was all true. Those were all true facts. Thank you for all that research.
Thank you. That's great. And how are you?
I'm good. I could listen to that accent all day.
Oh, thank you so
Oh,
much.
it's the best.
Australia's one of the best countries, and thank you for that.
Oh, I love it. I am dying to visit. So,
That'd be-
hello to all you Australians. Let's figure out a way to get me over there.
Well, I could probably email up some of the conventions and see what they can do. I'm sure
Oh,
they'll...
I wasn't fishing for that, but yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do that. Anyway, on to the first question.
Oh, okay.
How did you get started in acting?
In acting, I was pretty young. I was in high school when I went on my first voiceover audition, and it was for wart cream, and I had to say something like, ew, gross, a wart. And I got the job, and that was how I began my voice acting career. I was very lucky. I was a singer. I did a lot of theater back then, and now I mostly concentrate on voiceover work.
Fantastic. And as I mentioned before, you started, of course, in like a few live action parts, including co-hosting Cartoon Network Fridays and Everybody Hates Chris, the Sarah Silverman program. Was this after you started like your voice acting career, or was this before you done like
It
voice
was
acting?
all sort of I was doing kind of everything. I guess the Cartoon Network, when I was hosting that was about 10 years ago. And us actors, we kind of just take whatever job we get. So Pokemon was about 20 years ago. And then I think, gosh, Everybody Hates Chris was probably somewhere in between that. Sarah Silverman was a few years ago. I did two episodes of The Newsroom. I don't know if you got that over there, a couple years ago. Just sort of whatever jobs come along. And then I do a lot of audiobooks too. That takes up a lot of my time. So I just kind of take whatever work they offer me. Well, I mean, not anything. I have some standards. But I like to work, so...
That's awesome. And with Everybody Hates Chris and the Sarah Silverman program, what was it like working on those, being on those two shows?
Well, Sarah Silverman's my idol, so that was just very cool to see her at work, and she's so professional, but so funny, and just kind and nice to everybody. And I love that because a lot of the work I do, especially anime, we're working alone in a booth. So being on a set with actors is much more fun for me because you actually get to interact. And on both of those shows, I got to work with the lead characters, so that's even more fun. Makes you a little more nervous because they're such pros. They have done it forever, but it's super fun, and I always welcome the chance to do that when I get to.
Oh, awesome. And as I mentioned before, like when you mentioned about like the newsroom coming here in Australia, I don't think I ever got that in Australia.
You guys probably didn't.
No.
It was an HBO show, but I know some of our stuff overlaps, but...
Yeah, some of it does overlap. And with Cartoon Network Fridays, actually, you did the version that you've got in America, like you were a co-host on that show, and you've interviewed some of the biggest names in the entertainment world. What was that like?
Oh my god, that was my favorite. That was my favorite. The interviews were my favorite part. Because you really got to see... We got to ask such weird questions because we were a different kind of show. So, they'd be so sick. A lot of those actors would be so sick of answering the same questions over and over. And then they would come to us and we'd be like, what do you like on your pizza? And just like zany, weird stuff. And it would make them much more comfortable, and they were happy they weren't just doing the same old interview again. And my co-host Tommy was awesome with them. So like he was so crazy. We got away with just insane stuff. We actually got to go to Skywalker Ranch for one of the junkets for one of the films and hang out there and interview George Lucas in a barn. I mean, who gets to do that? So
That'd be
I was very lucky. That was a really fun job.
that'd be a dream come true for anybody.
I wish I had taken more pictures. I mean, because we were just so like, what do we do? But we did. We got some good ones. But yeah, I would love to do it all over again.
That's fantastic. And like in Australia, actually, we never. Well, I actually did have like Cartoon Network Fridays, but not the American version in Australia. We had like an Australianized version, but not like the one that you did in America, though. But
Okay.
But there are some videos online though of you hosting like on the red carpet with Cartoon Network Fridays. Some of the biggest names on in the entertainment industry on your YouTube channel under Terra Sans LA.
It's crazy, right?
It's absolutely manic. It's
Johnny
really...
Depp. I mean, like Johnny Depp. The greatest thing that Johnny Depp said to me when I interviewed him is he looked down at my pedicure and he said, "Blue toes, well done." And I was like freaking out for weeks after that.
You never...
I'm still bringing it up 10 years later, so obviously it made an impact. Johnny Depp, I mean, come on.
Who wouldn't be excited by that? Who wouldn't be
Right.
excited by that? And that would stay in your memory for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it will.
I mean-
I could be like 99 years old and be like, have Alzheimer's, and that will be the one thing I remember. I'll just be like, just walking around a nursing home saying, "Blue toes, well done. Blue toes, well done." And they're going to think I'm insane. And you're going to be the only one who knows what I'm referring to.
That's true. But of course, like going into your anime roles, so you've got like a huge resume across all spectrums from anime to video games. But some of the roles that I best remember you for were Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Starting, of course, with Pokemon. How did you get started in the Pokemon series?
It's so strange. I still don't really know how I got that audition, like, or that job. Like, they got my name somehow. No one was ever able to tell me how, and I would love to thank somebody, but I've never gotten to. So I auditioned, and then the first day I worked on it, Veronica Taylor was there recording, and I was like, "She is awesome. Who is that girl?" And then they threw me in the booth. It was one of the very early episodes, and I was doing some small, like, girl part, and then they said, "Oh, here's this little blue creature. Here's what he sounds like in Japanese. Can you do that and say Bulbasaur?" And I was like, "I guess so. I mean, sure, why not? I'm here." We had no idea, like, what Pokemon was, how big it was going to be. It was just this crazy Japanese cartoon that we heard was giving kids seizures because of the strobe lights or something. So that was, like, really what we knew about it. And then, 20 years later, there's, like, 20-year anniversary Pokemon commercial during the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I don't know if did you guys hear about that or see that commercial?
I actually did. There have been a lot of trailers dropping on the Super Bowl, actually, like mostly for DC Marvel sort of stuff.
Okay.
But that's fantastic. There
was a really cool Pokemon commercial during the Super Bowl. Yeah, definitely check it out.
I'll
It just, like, kind of
definitely check it
gave me goosebumps because it was such a fun time in my life to work on it.
That's definitely fantastic. And speaking about, of course, with Bulbasaur, one of the episodes from Pokemon is where, I think it was episode 4 or something, it was when there was like this whole forest full of Bulbasaurs, like bowing down or respecting like this like Venusaur or something.
Oh my gosh.
What was I'm not sure if you can remember, but what was the recording process for that like? It must have, did you have to record like one take and then span the like Bulbasaur voice across like several different tracks or something?
There are probably several tracks, and then, I mean, look, there's amazing things you can do with Pro Tools, and we worked with amazing engineers who probably made it sound bigger and better than whatever I did. And it also depended on, I guess, if we needed to match, I don't remember clearly, but if we needed to match any kind of lip flap, like more Bulba mouth flap. So I should watch it and remember, but I probably did a bunch of, maybe we did it 5 or 6 times, and then they did some magic to make it sound crazy. But there was definitely, I remember even with Clefairy, we had to do a lot of tracks of something in one episode. There were supposed to be like hundreds of them. So, but it was so much fun. Bulbasaur hurt my voice a little, so that was less fun to do multiple takes and tracks, but the other characters were easier.
Awesome. And yeah, I was kind of like imagining like at least probably like a studio filled up with like I don't know like 10 microphones or something, and just speaking into like all of them at once or something.
Oh no, they can what they can do too is they can scatter it where you said it and make it sound like a lot. They have lots of tricks. What would Bulbasaur sound like with an Australian accent?
Oh wow.
That's really all I want to know.
Well, I mean, I did do like a Pokemon impressions video on my channel. Actually,
Oh yeah, so you could do Bulbasaur. Everyone can do Bulbasaur.
Yeah, everyone can do Bulbasaur actually, but with an Australian accent, I never really thought about that much. I'll try it out and see if I can. Bulbasaur or something or other.
Yeah, he sounds cooler. Everything's cooler with an Australian accent.
Well, thank you. That's really kind of you. Definitely come to Australia someday.
No. I'm sorry, I digress. What were we talking about? Pokemon.
Well, going on to Pokemon, of course, you also played like Ash's, what I consider to be Ash's counterpart, Richie, like a human character in the Pokemon universe. How different was it really doing like the Pokemon characters like Bulbasaur, Vampy, all those types, and doing a human character like Richie? How different did it feel and performance wise?
Oof, that's a good question. You know, it's funny, like those Pokemon, when it was written well and done well, we really had specific things in our heads, I think, that the Pokemon were saying. So, you know, like if Bulbasaur was agreeing with Ash, like, and I would say Bulbasaur, I would maybe in my brain be thinking certainly or yes, Ash, you know. So it was sort of an easier, more relaxing thing to actually have words to use. And obviously playing, you know, emotionally, it was really fun to play a lot of those characters. I got to do some cool stuff. You know, I think Richie actually had a big impact on Ash, and that storyline was kind. I mean, I don't want to say heavy, but you know, there was some life lessons in there. So to play a role like that was really cool, and to make sure I didn't sound too much like Ash, like we would be careful that our voices didn't sound too similar. So there were some challenges with that, but overall, I liked playing the human characters just as much. I think I liked them equally.
That's great. And I like the question that everyone has been asking about with like Misty coming back into the Pokemon universe. Will we expect like Richie probably coming back anytime soon in the series?
Oh, I have no idea. It's all done. I moved to LA from New York, and all the dubbing was done in New York. So a lot of us basically lost our jobs if we moved or relocated. So I know that it's a whole new studio doing the show now, so none of us know anything. There's a whole new crop of actors, and it's all new producers and directors, so we're out of the loop. I know less than you do, probably. And it's hard for me. I don't watch the new one because I have such like a special place in my heart for the old stuff. So people ask me if I like the new one, and I can honestly say I don't know. Because it's too sad to watch something that we're not part of. It's
definitely can be like that. Like I love the original way too much myself, but I have seen the new one though, and the actors in that are doing a fantastic job and everything, and I like both versions for very different reasons. It's the same way,
and that's awesome that you have both to watch.
That's exactly that. I think the new series is doing really, really well, and I still love the old series. It's still a really special place in my heart, and like the Pokemon, I think, was the first anime series that I got into.
Oh, cool.
Like, I bought, I think, my first videotape of the first last few original series from season 1, like a videotape, like that was in the color yellow, like Pikachu, which was pretty crazy. And I still have like a Pokemon pillowcase, so I'm a pretty die-hard Pokemon fan.
I love it.
That kind of says a lot.
That's really funny.
But Pokemon's still one of the best anime series, and it will still go on for a really long time.
I hope so.
I hope so as well. And one of the other series, talking about, of course, with like different versions of anime, there's also the One Piece series, which you did.
There's a bunch of different versions.
There's a bunch of different versions. There was like the 4 Kids.
Ours was wacky.
Yeah. I actually, looking back on I've watched both the 4 Kids version and the Funimation version, and I know people have made a lot of criticism, comparisons
totally.
to like Funimation and 4 Kids, but I love both versions, like I said, for different reasons. of course.
I haven't seen both, but I didn't know until I started appearing at conventions that there was all this, like, hoo-ha about the two versions and comparisons, and that ours was apparently, like, bananas. Like, I didn't know any of that until recently, so now I really have to do my research and watch them. I just remember it being really fun, and I like anything with pirates. So, you know, two different versions, that's even better. You get to, like, mix them up and find your favorite parts of each and watch what you want.
That's exactly that. I mean, the 4Kids version, looking back on, like, a lot of those episodes and such, the episodes that I remembered watching, there were a lot of great moments in those series, and watching, like, some of the episodes in the Funimation version, there are amazing moments in that, and I love both of them for very different reasons. And going into, and of course the other anime character that you're best also known for is Mokuba from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Sweet Mokuba!
What was it like playing that sort of character?
Well, a lot of what I said was, Big Brother! And that was, like, it. Like, he would, like, be in an episode and he would say that, like, 4 times, and then, like, okay, you're done. But when he really got into it, it was really fun. I loved their relationship. I like, the brothers. I thought it was really cool. And I had a great time on that show. That was one of my favorites. And unfortunately, that was one that when I moved, I didn't get to keep the job because it was all done in New York. So I know that there were 2 other Mokubas after me, and I heard they're both awesome. So Carrie Keranen did it, and she's always good. So
yeah,
but it is sad. It is sad to, like, pass the torch.
It is a little bit sad, but you hope that they continue to make the character justice and do you proud.
Yeah, and apparently they both did. So that's cool. You know, you trust the people that you work with, and it's in good hands, and people love that show. I was sad to have to leave it. I would have flown back if it would have worked out to keep doing it, but there were too many. There was too much stuff to do. So
that's okay anyway. All that's left to do is just leave it up to the other actors and just hope they keep it justice.
No, it's still good. It's all good.
And were you much of a cartoon fan growing up?
Yeah. I mean, Saturday mornings, that's what we did. I mean, I guess it's true there, too, that's like, is that a Saturday morning ritual for you guys?
Yeah, for myself personally, I mean, I'm 23, of course, and I still watch, like, cartoons and anime to this day forward. I mean, even as a kid and such, there used to be, like, Saturday morning cartoons, like, Saturday Disney, I think it was, and Cheese TV and all that kind of stuff, like showing off like anime and a lot of different cartoons and such. So yeah, we get like a lot of the anime from, and a lot of American cartoons come to Australia and such, which is awesome.
Yeah, and now I mean I'm a huge Simpsons fan. I love South Park. Like South Park's my favorite. And then still Scooby-Doo, and there's so many good classics that are, you know, still, it's so easy with all these channels and networks and everything to watch whatever you want whenever you want. So it's almost too much access.
That's true. And like you mentioned before at the start, when you started your acting career, you were doing singing, you were doing like theater productions.
Yeah.
Did you ever get the chance to do like any musical roles in like any of your series, or like even outside of that while doing anime or animation?
I got to sing in some. Like, there was a show called Fighting Foodons that we did. I don't know if that ever made it there. But, like, there was a lot of music in it. And once in a while I'd get to sing something. I did a show called I Spy, and I got to sing the theme song for that. I tend to have to sing as a little boy. I don't know why that always happens. It would be fun to sing as a girl once in a while. I wish I got to do more of that. It would be fun to incorporate it into more stuff. So, hopefully one day.
It's funny that you mentioned I Spy, actually, because that was one of the few series actually that made it onto ABC Australia when I was a kid. And back during that time, I actually had no idea that you voiced the character. And looking back on that now, and I thought, oh, that's Mokuba.
Yep, he's just a weird variation of Mokuba.
Exactly. With a tennis
ball head.
Exactly. But what was it like doing that sort of animation style compared to like the anime series that you've done?
That was different because that was new animation, so we didn't have to match any existing animation like an anime, which gives you just so much more freedom to not have to watch a mouth flap to get your instructions. So that was fun, and the writers were always around, and we could change things, and we got to work with the other actors, which, you know, you never knew what might come out of that, some improv or whatever. And because it was a kid's show, too, I mean, we got to go so over the top. The anime's aimed at an older audience than I Spy was. So because I Spy was aimed at such young kids, we really got to be out there and zany and high energy, which is exhausting, but so much fun.
It definitely sounds like it was so much fun. And that's the beauty of course, with animation and such. And it's great that you got to work with like actors and play off of one another.
Such a treat to do that.
That's looking across like all the stuff you've done throughout your career, from anime to animation to video games. What has been like the most enjoyable and easiest like medium for you to work on, and what have you found was always the hardest to work on?
That's a good question. I mean, I think when we talked about Fridays before and being on camera, and those interviews were the hardest thing to do, because you really only got one chance. You know, you had a celebrity or whoever it was, especially if it was on the red carpet. You had one chance to get some good questions in and get them to talk to you, and maybe less than 2 minutes to do it. And if you didn't get it and do it right and do it well, they were on to the next interviewer. So I loved that, because there was pressure. I work better under pressure, so that was so much fun. With you know, voiceover, we get to do a million takes if we need to. So, you know, it's not the same pressure-filled room. But then again, sometimes I've worked in rooms. I did a show called Generator Rex, and I got to work with like Mark Hamill and John DiMaggio, and so that's probably the most fun for me, because I'm working with my heroes. But it's also the scariest, because, oh my God, they're amazing and they're standing right next to me. So I guess like it's kind of the best jobs are also the scariest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense, and that's certainly true. Especially standing, as you mentioned, with Generator Rex, standing right next to Mark Hamill and John DiMaggio, who.
I mean, oh my God, right?
And because they played both versions, they did the Joker in like very different versions of the Batman animated franchise. Like John DiMaggio in Batman Under the Red Hood, and Mark Hamill is like, he's the Joker in the Batman animated series.
Oh, wow.
So,
he's probably awesome.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. They're definitely something to check out. And
yeah, for sure. They're so good.
It did kind of catch me off by surprise that Mark Hamill did voice the Joker. Like, after he had done the Star Wars franchise, it didn't even cross my mind. And he's doing an incredible job. And now he's part of the Star Wars. He's now part of the Star Wars universe again, which is he's getting really big again.
Oh, so exciting.
Would you ever want to see yourself like voicing, like possibly voicing a Star Wars character at some point?
Of course. Who wouldn't? I say no to very little. Yes, that would be amazing. I would do whatever they needed me to do.
And looking across like all the roles that you've done in your entire resume, what has been the one role that's resonated with you the most, and you feel like you could relate to as a person?
I really did like Generator Rex. I liked playing this outsider character who, you know, she made some weird decisions based out of, I don't know that I relate to this so much, but it was definitely a fun acting challenge. She had to make decisions based on her safety and on her past being scary, and that maybe weren't the smartest decisions. You know, she joins a gang at a certain point, and, you know, obviously I can't relate to that, but I understand that operating out of fear. And I think we all relate to that. Like, gosh, I don't really want to do this, but I'm scared to do anything else. And that was fun again. And because that we got to work with each other, you got much more real moments out of that kind of show.
That's fantastic. And with with Cartoon Network Fridays, when you mentioned, of course, like doing the interviews and such, would you ever want to do something like that again someday?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. This is going to sound strange, but I'm a huge Howard Stern fan. I don't know if you guys listen to him there.
We're familiar with Howard Stern.
Probably not. He's very New York. But he does amazing interviews. And he does a lot of dirty stuff also, but his interviews have always been what I love about him. And I would, in a heartbeat, jump at a chance to do interviews again. Like, even for the conventions and stuff, I've offered to interview the other guests because I love asking. I don't like answering the questions. I'd rather interview you right now. That would be way more comfortable for me.
Ask away whenever you get the chance to. That'd be awesome.
Well, I made you do a Bulbasaur voice already, so I'm making you work.
Yeah, that's the best thing. It's just having it going back and forth, basically having a chat, basically. Mm-hmm. Instead of just being like having the guest being put on the spot and like not having the guest ask questions to the interviewer and such.
Right, it should be a dialogue.
It should be dialogue, exactly. And any current projects, so without getting into any spoilers, any current projects that will be happening for you this year or later in the future?
Let's see. I did a bunch of Naruto. I don't know if they aired there yet. I played a character called Yota, who was very draining to do because he cries. That's a lot of what he does is cry. I did some Sailor Moon. I'm not sure what's aired or what I'm allowed to talk about, but I can say I worked on some of that. Marvel Disc Wars, which is only airing in Asia, unfortunately. But that was super fun because all the Avengers characters are in that one. You can kind of find some stuff on the web about it. But that was a super fun show. We did a billion episodes. So I'm hoping I get to even see some of the finished episodes. Maybe they'll let me watch them. I don't know. But I played a character named Ed, who's in all the episodes, and he's this really precocious little scientist kind of kid who. Well, I don't want to give anything away if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
hopefully you'll get to see it. So.
Hopefully they'll drop it in Australia someday, and that would be awesome. And were you much of a DC Marvel comic book fan growing up, or were you familiar with the DC Marvel comics when you got started in that show that you mentioned? I
really wasn't. And now that I know more about it, I love it. Like, I can't wait to see Deadpool this weekend, and I go see everything. But growing up, I was like a musical theater nerd. I was like singing show tunes. I wasn't into comic books and stuff, and I'm sure if someone would have put one in my hands, I would have loved it. But it wasn't my thing. But now I'm sort of immersed in this world, which is super fun.
It's definitely the best world to be in, and yeah, Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
It's already dropped right now in Australia, so it's really exciting, and I can't wait to see it as well. It's going to be fantastic.
Yes, I'm super excited. There's a bunch of good stuff happening soon.
Absolutely. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And the last question, what advice would you give to anybody who wants to make it in the business?
I'd say two things. I'd say study acting. That this is, even though it's a voice job, it really is an acting job. I was a theater major in college. My background is acting, and you end up really using those skills and calling back on those skills. The other thing I would say is it is also a business. A lot of people that I know, so many just amazingly talented people who don't have great business skills. So they fall through the cracks, and it's such a shame because they're so talented, but they don't have that business savvy side. So I'd say, take a business class too. Take an acting class and take a business class. And figure out how to merge those things, learn to send thank you notes and learn to treat it the way any other business would be run. I would assume it's the same over there as it is here. But I think that's where a lot of people mess up, is they forget that it's not just about talent. It's about being savvy and being kind and all these other things.
That's brilliant advice. And it's definitely the same as like over here. Even though the animation animation industry is very, very different in Australia than it is up in the States. But you're definitely right. It should be treated like a business, and that's definitely fantastic advice.
Oh, good.
Tara Sands, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honour to talk to you.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much, and hope to see you in Australia someday.
See you down under.
See you down under too.
How was that? Was that good?
That was great.
Did I pass the test? Okay.
Yep, you passed it.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you very much, Tara. Well, guys, if you'd like to find out more about Tara Sands' work, you can check out her official website and follow her on both Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe down below to HannaTalk and check out my music channel, Simon Hanna Music, as well as follow me on both Facebook and Twitter. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is Simon, signing off. Bye.